and welcome. This is Nadira on Workout San Diego. Today is a high surf advisory here in San Diego, and so I thought I would film here at the beach so that you can see some possible high surf. So let me know if there's some high surf and I'm not paying attention because I'm talking to everybody and it starts coming up because they said there could be some flooding, and I got a little bit of space here between me and the water, but maybe it will come up. So last week we talked about the clitoris, and I gave you some great information about that. And today I wanted to share with you some information about nipples. Now I'm really excited. I'm probably just going to share 3 things because I know we all have busy days, and look how glorious and beautiful it is here today. So you can head out to a park, beach, something. Go outside. It's so pretty here in San Diego. But I wanted to share with you 3 things, and I would love to transform and have your help. So if you want to come on live with me, just message or just say, hey, I want to come on and talk with you, because I'd love to have your input. Or if you want to comment, ask me any questions, then do that so we can have a really engaging educational discussion. So the reason I'm on here sharing some different new sex ed tips, I feel, and health tips, is because I feel that many times throughout generations, maybe parents, maybe you're not feeling so comfortable with this discussion, so hopefully this will help you feel more comfortable, as well as sometimes parents are relying on the school, and then the school is relying on the parents for this education, and like I've mentioned before, then sometimes youth or adults are getting misinformation from possibly friends or films or different things. So it's really great to do your own research, get comfortable with the topics. If you're not comfortable, you can send people over here and learn some new education. And so what I wanted to share is, when I went to school, there were so many discussions about reproduction. So it wasn't about pleasure, and I really want to talk about pleasure because with over half of Americans, marriages ending in divorce, I feel like marriage is not about reproduction. Marriage is about having pleasure in your relationship, having intimacy. And so pleasure and intimacy is very vital for having a happy, healthy, sexual healthy relationship, and then also teaching our children, if we happen to reproduce, some valuable education that will help them have long-lasting, intimate sexual friendship relationships with their significant others that they choose to be with, or their spouses. So again, sex is very healthy, so it's very important. Orgasms are healthy. It's really important to know about that and how to achieve those, and how to even have the intimacy part, which is really important too. Just cuddling, hugging, that's very vital for a healthy human. So I wanted to share about nipples today, and the 3 things that I wanted to share was, I feel that, like I was mentioning, there's so many discussions about the differences. There's so many discussions about the differences between women and their body parts compared to other women. Or there's differences between men compared to other men and their body parts, their physical self. And there's also the comparisons of the differences between men and women. And so I am all about equality, but showing the differences and yet how they're similar and how they actually help to make a whole. And so I wanted to share that nipples for men and women both have the same amount of nerve endings. The only difference that has made one a chest and one a breast is the fact of estrogen and testosterone, which, is also that DNA switches to either one being the male, one being the female. That's one part, having certain genitals. But the other part, the main part, even beyond that part, is the testosterone and the estrogen, which that has everything to do with our physiology and who we are. So I wanted to share that the nerve endings in the nipples for both the men's chest and the women's breast, same thing, just one's bigger than the other, has the same amount of nerve endings. The second thing is that many men or boys are not taught that their nipples are sexual part of their body and can be used as a stimulant just like women. So we're oftentimes thinking that the women's breasts, and we know they're sexualized, but the men's is the same. It's the same thing. It's just a different form based on hormones. But the nipples have the same amount of nerve endings, and therefore the nipples for the women and the men is both arousing sexually. And it connects to when you stimulate the nipples on both men and women. It goes to the brain and then the brain back down to the genitals, so it's stimulating for the men, and their penis is stimulating for the women, and their cervix, clitoris, vulva, all of that. So stimulation for the nipples is equal for men and women. I just feel that maybe men have not been educated on that. So the studies show that I believe 82% of women find nipple stimulation arousing, and there was like 52% of the men find that it's arousing. But I feel that this statistic is not accurate as it could be, because I think that men might have a mindset that their chest, their nipples, are not the same as women, and so therefore maybe they don't have women stimulating their nipples, and therefore the tests are a little biased. So let's see if we can change those statistics around by being open and now realizing that the nipples are both the same on the men and the women, and both are stimulating sexually for the men and the women. So we could neither sexualize both, or we could sexualize both, depending on what you want. But I feel like as women it's always been sexualized. I feel we should be able to walk without our shirts, same as man. Again, it's just the estrogen, and that's my whole thing. That's a different platform. All right, so we have what else? Yeah, so there's not so much difference in the physiology between men and women. Just one is for reproduction, because the genitals are have a lot of the same nerve endings, made of a lot of the same tissue, just look different. So that's really interesting. And then for us to remember that the breast and the chest is very similar, but based on testosterone, there's more hair for the men. Based on testosterone, there's more fat in the breast than men. So I hope that has enlightened you, or maybe I shared something you already know. Maybe there's something that you didn't know. If you feel like it, share this out, let people know. I hope that more men and women have more pleasure in their sexual lives. I hope that we can add this kind of information into the sex ed classes, because let's not call it sex ed then, and let's call it reproduction education, because people are just talking about reproduction. And I think that just the fact of talking about two humans that are sexual beings made from sex, to continue to call it a reproduction, or sex ed class, but it's really reproduction class, to continue this is probably going to result in the continual downfall of marriage and relationships and intimacy and lack of pleasure in sex. So I hope to add the pleasure back into these sexual relationships, and let's add this education, because we are sexual beings. It should be a pleasurable event in our life. It should be something that we take pleasure in, not just to reproduce. So so there you have it. Share it out. We learned new things about nipples, and men and women's nipples are equal. All right, this is Indira on Workout San Diego. Have a beautiful day.